Unsettling. Chinese Communist Party collects massive amount of American DNA information. On February 1st, the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, NCSC, released a report stating that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has used various means over the years to collect a large amount of U.S. citizens' biodata, especially DNA. This not only violates Americans' personal privacy, but also threatens the U.S. economy and national security. According to the report, the CCP entered the U.S. market by acquiring U.S. companies that handle sensitive personal health information and other personal data, and subsequently obtained relevant data they desired. At the same time, the CCP obtains American health data through cooperation with American hospitals, universities, and other research institutions. In 2015, the Chinese hacked U.S. health insurance company Anthem and stole information on more than 78 million U.S. individuals. The report also cites that the Chinese Communist Party used the coronavirus epidemic to steal biodata from Americans. By 2019, at least 15 Chinese companies were able to conduct genetic testing on U.S. patients and had direct access to Americans' genetic data. Bill Evanina, director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, said recently on CBS's 60 Minutes that current estimates are that 80% of American adults have had all their personally identifiable information stolen by the Communist Party of China.
Big Tech to be penalized in Florida for censorship. On Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced during a press conference that big tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Google will face harsh penalties if they violate the privacy of Floridians and interfere with citizens' access to candidates during an election.
Floridians should have the privacy of their data and personal information protected. Their ability to access and participate in online platforms protected, and their ability to participate in elections free from interference from big tech protected.
Governor DeSantis said big tech is becoming more like Big Brother with each passing day.
What began as a group of upstart technology companies from the West Coast has since transformed into an industry of monopoly communications platforms that monitor, influence, and control the flow of information in our country and among our citizens.
In these years, big tech companies become more and more unscrupulous in manipulating the news and engaging in outright censorship, such as moderating news that was unfavorable to Joe Biden, banning high-profile conservatives, including President Donald Trump, from Twitter and Facebook, and removing the Parler social media platform from Amazon's servers, and more.
When 2.8 million Americans chose to download the application Parler and share information with friends, family, and colleagues, what was the result of that? Canceled by Amazon, Google, and Apple.
Under the new measure from the Florida legislature, the technology companies that deplatform a candidate during an election will face a daily fine of $100,000 until the candidate's access to the platform is restored. If a technology company promotes a candidate for office against another, the value of that free promotion must be recorded as a political campaign contribution. Florida's House Speaker Chris Sproles also spoke at the meeting.
With our proposal, we're going to bring into the sunshine what I call the 5 families of darkness: Facebook, Twitter, Google, Amazon, and Apple. They are the big tech giants that are leaving users in the dark. With our proposal, we are pushing the barriers to finally call out their convoluted and inconsistent standards for censoring, banning, and deplatforming. Today, we're announcing a proposal to make sure that these actors won't go unchecked here in Florida anymore.
CDC. Super fungus may cause new pandemic. Experts from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention warned that a super fungus may trigger a new pandemic as the COVID-19 epidemic continues to rage worldwide. C. auris was first reported in the ear canal of a 70-year-old woman in Tokyo, Japan in 2009, hence the name auris. Dr. Tom Chiller, chief of the Mycotic Diseases branch of the CDC.
What's the problem with Candida auris? Well, number one, Candida auris is challenging to identify. MALDI-TOF is the name of the equipment that we use. Secondly, it is resistant to the classes of antifungal drugs that we use in these organisms, which makes them essentially untreatable. And we call it, therefore, the fungal superbug right now, because we're concerned that the triple resistance will be untreatable. And then third and most challenging is that it's not acting like a candida, as I mentioned earlier. It's acting more like a bacteria in the fact that it's transmitted person to person. It's transmitted within healthcare settings.
The fungus has now been identified in at least 30 countries around the world. The CDC pointed out that the deadly fungus, Candida auris, is causing deadly infections in many countries around the world, potentially becoming a new threat.
We saw a cluster of patients develop in 2016, and that's really when the outbreak began, particularly in New York and Brooklyn region. The aha moment we had was when a patient died with it, and we did cultures all over the room, we found that the Candida auris was everywhere. We found it from top to bottom, from the ceiling to the wall monitors, to the artificial respirators, to the pumps, to the bed, to the floors. If you connect it to our artificial respirator, then it has a portal to get into the lungs. If you have a central venous catheter, it has a portal to get into the bloodstream.
As of November 30th, 2020, the CDC had received reports of more than 1,595 cases of Candida auris. In recent months, the deadly fungus infection has hospitalized many Floridians, allowing the fungus to spread among the COVID-19 wards. Dr. Tom Chiller stated that it is not yet clear where C. auris came from and why it has only recently begun affecting humans. It is a creature from the Black Lagoon, he said. It bubbled up and now it is everywhere. Dr. Fauci revises two-layer mask suggestion. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the chief medical advisor to Joe Biden, revised his earlier suggestion of wearing more masks to stop the spread of COVID-19. On January 28th, at a live virtual event with the American Federation of Teachers, AFT, and the National Education Association, NEA, Dr. Fauci told the presidents of the two teachers' unions that many people may feel putting on two masks would give an extra bit of protection, but there's no data that indicates that that is going to make a difference. But a few days before that, on January 25th, Dr. Fauci said on NBC's Today Show that wearing two masks is likely safer. It just makes common sense that it likely would be more effective, he said. It seems whether wearing two masks is actually more protective remains uncertain and is a question of personal preference. But wearing a face mask is becoming a requirement for any public activity. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, recommends wearing a cloth mask made with 2 or more layers and ensuring it covers the nose and mouth. The agency says it should fit snugly so there aren't any gaps at the sides of the face. Dr. David Hamer, an infectious disease expert at Boston University, suggested that wearing one mask should be enough for most situations, as long as it fits well and isn't loose. On January 29th, the CDC issued a mask mandate on all U.S. travelers. Starting from February 1st, travelers and commuters will be required to wear face masks on nearly all forms of public transportation. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, has been authorized to fine passengers who do not meet the mask requirement on public transportation systems.